I personally studied in an international baccalaureate program, and for what I know, the highest scores are always from Korea.
한국에 한계는 없다라고 단언한 미국의 한 교수가 있습니다. 많이 아실 텐데요. 바로 펜실베니아에 주립대 샘 리처드 교수입니다. 2017년부터 지금까지 한국에 대한 강의를 대학에서 하고 있는 그는 미국에서 손꼽히는 사회학자이자 한국에 대해 깊은 지식과 애정을 갖고 있는 인물이죠. 샘 리처드 교수가 수업에서 다룬 한국에 관한 주제만 해도 입이 떡 벌어질 정도로 다양합니다. 한류 등의 문화 콘텐츠와 경제 성장은 물론이고 먹방, 한국의 식문화, 한국의 정서 등 다양한 측면의 한국을 학생들과 살펴보며 한국의 어떤 점이 대단한지 한국에서 뭘 배워야 할지 분석했죠. 샘 리처드 교수의 강의가 인상적인 이유는 또 있습니다. 그가 학생들을 나오게 해 그들의 생각과 경험을 직접 듣는다는 점인데요. 오늘은 미국과 한국의 교육열과 교육 수준에 대해 분석하고 왜 이런 결과가 빚어졌는지에 대해 살펴봤습니다.
We're going to talk about Korea today. Korea is a socioeconomic, geopolitical miracle. What Korea has done, in my lifetime, we'll say in the past 55 years or so, has been something that we've really never seen in human history. To reach a level of modernization, growth, and development that we just have never seen. It all comes from something. And if you look at those numbers there, South Korea in 1965, the GDP is 3.1 billion, and now it's 1.8 trillion. Korea, in 1965, the economy was, the country of Ghana was wealthier than Korea. The country of Algeria was wealthier than Korea. Dude, Tunisia was wealthier than Korea. And now Korea is the 10th largest economy in the world. All that alone would lead me as a sociologist to say, damn, what happened? Like, what happened? What did they do? And which is, of course, what it has maintained my interest in Korea. I was first interested or introduced to Korea back in the mid-'80s through some of the early to mid-'80s when I had some graduate student friends from Seoul. And I started to really kind of dig into Korean geopolitics and economics and familiarize myself with the culture and a lot of things. And so, I became just fascinated by Korea, and I have watched it, over the course of the past 40 years, just expand. Korea is one of the most educated countries in the world. So look at Korea. About 70% of Koreans aged 25 to 34 have 4-year college degrees. No, just hold that. 70%. And the U.S. is 40%. And then look at Germany, Saudi Arabia. I put Saudi Arabia because there are so many Saudis in here. And China, Nigeria. What do you do? How do you get there? Like, what's going on in Korea with education? They were competing with 70% of the population their age who also had college degrees. So the college degree is just the norm, right?
Koreans are they're really into education, so going to more than 3 hagwons per day or maybe 5, it's really normal for Koreans.
Be competing. As it is, when you graduate from Penn State, you have the idea, okay, you're going to find a job. But if you were competing with twice as many people with college degrees here or back home, wherever you're from, if you're not from the United States, you'd be tutoring. You'd be like trying to elevate your, get your game together, man. Okay, so wait, do your parents drop you off there? Like, first off, there's virtually can you say something about crime in Korea? Because people are probably wondering, how are you up at that hour in the morning when you're 14 years old or whatever? But do you want to say something about crime, or should I? How much crime is there?
So Korea is identified as really safe country. So a lot of people go out at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and we don't feel like we're not nervous. Like we know it's safe. So like there's not a lot of crime in South Korea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, virtually. There's no violent crime.
Like for example, when we go to like cafe or restaurant, we don't steal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, even if it's on the table, like it's our law that we don't touch others. Like even though like how expensive it is, like we don't steal it.
I'd like to add on it.
Yeah.
So like when I was back in Korea, I was studying at a cafe with my friend, and then I just left to like go to the bathroom, and then once I came back, just one guy came over to me and like whispered me like, my friend, she like touched my stuff, and I was like, oh, she's my friend.
Yeah. Whoa, your friend, he saw your friend touch your stuff, like your book bag.
Like he thought she was stealing something.
Recently, there are a lot of stores without a cashier. So you just have a machine, and people would have to go grab like whatever they want from like the shelves, and then just check out themselves without anyone supervising in the store. And the stores would go on for 24 hours and just have a single security camera, but people wouldn't steal. They would just check out themselves and leave. Like get what you want, pay for it, and leave. No one steals it.
You just would never do. So school itself is really intense. But there are layers of school, right? Like the best schools, the worst schools. Like I have the idea that the worst schools, like the lowest level schools, are probably like our upper level schools here, if I could say. So school is already intense. Now you go to these cram schools and you're just being drilled constantly, right?
I personally studied in an international baccalaureate program, and for what I know, the highest scores are always from Korea.
When I was in Korea, Junho and I went to this Incheon International High School, and I gave a talk there.
Students really liked you, and like you realize that a lot of students were really good at English, and then they asked a lot of questions to you. So,
dude, these students asked questions of me that I couldn't answer. There were 15-year-olds asking me questions to which I didn't have an answer. There was one question about U.S. foreign policy as it relates to China. These are 15-year-olds, right? 16-year-olds. And I almost had to do a call in to my friend who's the national security advisor to the White House on China. And I'm like, hang on a sec, y'all. I'm going to have to call her to get an answer to this question because I can't answer that question. I mean, this is what I do for a living. And I'm like, y'all are like, you've just like blown me away with this, right? And so that's my experience. But, in East Asian cultures, like you have very much a community-oriented moral order. Like the sense of right and wrong is really built around what's right and wrong for the community. And, here in the West, it's much more individualist-oriented moral order, right? Like, what's right and wrong for me? Like, the most important thing, or the best way to have like an organized society is have each person put themselves out front. This is a meal, right? I'm with some friends here. So these are the dishes for everybody. Basically, we're just eating. It's a communal meal. Like we're just eating together. You don't order your own separate dish. You order and the other cultures do this as well. Obviously, it's not just Korea, but it's very community oriented. Like you're all participating in that.